Hello and welcome back to the Hutchinson Art Center's virtual art camp. My name is Kara Vaughn and I am so glad that you are here today. Before I begin, I want to remind you about the Art Camp Art Contest. Most of the art we make will be eligible to submit. The rules and requirements are listed in the description. However, I want you to know that the art that you submit doesn't have to be from anything we make. In fact, I encourage you to use what we make to inspire your own creations. Today's virtual art camp will be 2 drawing tutorials. You'll need 3 pieces of paper, a pencil and eraser, and a Sharpie. And finally, something to color with. I have markers, but you can have crayons, colored pencils, etc. I'm going to teach you how to make 3D box or bubble letters and a cute ice cream cone with cats stacked on top instead of ice cream. How silly is that? First, we will begin the lettering tutorial, and feel free to stop or rewind the video at any time. To start the letter tutorial, I will first illustrate how to look at the letters and analyze how you're going to achieve a bubble or boxy letter look. Now, I also mentioned that you will need 3 pieces of paper. I really want to emphasize today to sketch before you lock down on what you're making. Our 3rd piece of paper is just going to be solely for sketching and kind of warming up our hands so we can practice. So you can practice along with me. I'm going to write my name at the top of this page, and you should write your name at the top of the page. So I have K-A-R-A for my name. Your name might have more letters, it may have less. I'm only going to focus on the first 2. Actually, since I have an R and it has a curved piece in the letter, I'm actually going to use this. I think that'd be a great example to work with. So I'm going to use the K and the R to kind of sketch out and prepare. So when we look at the letters and we want to analyze how they are going to look, I want to picture what they would look like in a box. So what I could do is I could just go around and square off all the lines, kind of trap them in a little box, and go in and erase my initial marking that I made and do it that way. But I want to practice getting good at it freehand too. So I could look at this and start from one end, make my way around, and go back to that one space. And it's important too, whenever you're doing letters, that you keep them in the same width. So the length of this shape should be about the same length of this shape. I wouldn't want a K unless that's kind of the font that you're going for. That maybe looks like this, or where it looks like that. Okay, so we want to try and keep it as close to the original shape that it was to begin with. I'm also going to show you an easy trick on how to get these letters too. If you want to start with a rectangle, kind of sketch out a tall rectangle shape. So I'm going to do 2 of them just so you can see them side by side. So I'm going to draw the letter K inside of this rectangle. And I'm going to look at this and I see that I can cut out a triangle shape here, going up diagonally. Then down here I have another triangle shape that I can cut out. So I'm going to go from the bottom, go up, come back down on a diagonal, and then I have a big triangle shape here on the edge that I can also cut out. Okay, and so now what I could do is I can go in, erase, I'm going to use my eraser actually, and erase those extra lines that I don't need. Now, a K doesn't look like this. It doesn't come down and then have a corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to make some adjustments on my own and bring this line down, get them at the same length, and cut it up. This one needs to come down a little bit more because it's not the same length. There we go, and cut it up. And so that's another way too that you could achieve a box look if you needed more structure to get you started. And now if we want to make them look 3D, like they're coming up at us, So for the R, I have my box shape around it. I'm gonna round up right there. Then it'll have a little cutout piece inside. So I have a line that goes all the way down, and then it comes out to the right, goes back up just a little bit close to halfway, but not quite halfway. Then it comes down at an angle, and then I'm just gonna throw this angle on here so I have it in the same length. Cut that up. Look, I had an extra piece that I didn't need at the bottom. Perfect. And then I'm gonna round up from this end point to this end point. With the inside of my R, I'm gonna draw a D shape right inside, and this line lines up with this line because it's part of that same line. And then this part, I just have to look at the other side of my letter to see how big I need to make it. Now when you make it 3D, you want to think what corners you would see if it was 3D. So I am going to come over here, and here's a corner, here's a corner, here's a corner. They go pshoo, pshoo, pshoo. And then you would be able to connect them. Now see, I have a rounded piece right here, and I'll show you exactly how we're going to incorporate that in our 3D piece. So I'm gonna identify the corners that I want to extend. So it would really be on this side because I want it coming up from the left. So for the most part, they'll be on the left side. Like I'm not gonna put a dot here because I won't have anything to stretch from that. So I'm gonna stretch this corner, and these are all diagonals. So diagonal, 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 going up towards the upper left-hand corner. And now I'm going to connect these as straight lines up, up. That was a wonky line. And then right here, it's going to be a straight line, and then it's going to kind of join right here. You have to really visualize where that corner piece would be. It'd be ideally kind of right there. And then inside of the R in this D shape, it's also going to be 3D. So I'm just gonna come in and make like a little cutout so it looks like you could like fit your hand through it. Another way to make it look more 3D is you could shade these shapes that we just added on to our letter. And so they act as shadows. And that gives us the effect that the letter is three-dimensional, that we could hold it. It gives it weight and dimension. Whenever an object is 3D, it has depth, and we can see that depth with these shadows that we're creating too. So now for the lettering of my name, I'm going to start by writing all my letters in block form. So I'm going to do that really fast. I'm going to speed up this video. If you need to pause it, feel free. And now I'm gonna go find all the corners that I want to extend out and kind of identify where those might be. Okay, now here's the exciting part. I get to connect all my lines. Perfect. Now that I have my 3D shape, I could go in and add lines to give it more depth. And I could even design the middle if I wanted. I could add little flowers inside, or I could add different designs. It could be whatever you want it to be. I'm gonna go ahead and illustrate mine, and I'll be right back. Here's my finished 3D name. I went ahead and I continued the flowers on this one, and then the random squiggles that I did here. I did triangles on this one, which I thought kind of turned out pretty cool. This one is kind of just the same thing as this one, really. Okay, this tutorial is going to be a little bit more advanced. We are going to first start out with the basic structure of what we want this to look like, and then from there we can start deciding the details piece of it. So first I want us to practice just sketching out 4 shapes. We're gonna sketch out our cone shape, and then we're gonna, inside of the cone, we're gonna cut in half like the circle, so it's like inside of the cone and outside, then a circle overlapping that one, and then overlapping the middle one. And we're gonna do this a few times, so go ahead and start sketching very loosely, very roughly. This is a sketch, it is not by any means perfect. It has to be super loose, because this is the best way that your brain learns. It learns by getting in simple shapes, and as you are sketching, you're using your hand, your brain is starting to understand, okay, I see what you're trying to do, and then it's better for you to apply this whenever you are making your large finished piece. So once we have a few different sketches, we're going to start making it a little bit bigger. We're going to start trying to get in some more detail. So I'm going to start with my cone, really roughly. Get my cone in there. It's just a triangle shape, nothing fancy. And then inside I have a circle. I'm gonna actually raise my circle a little bit, because otherwise I'd have a squished. I already know that that cat would probably look a little squished. I don't want a squished kitty. That'd be super sad. Okay, then I have my one on top. Okay, and then from there, we need to start visualizing how these cones stack on top of each other, so it looks like I have a cat, and then a cat, and then a cat. Obviously, some of these lines are not going to stay. So I want to first start out with the lines that I want to keep. I know I'm going to keep all the outside lines, so I'm going to start with that. I'm going to go in with my pencil and with more pressure, and also on these ones they were really light pressure. I just very loosely sketch it. I didn't go in really hard and make these shapes. I mean, you could, but whenever we're doing something like this, you want to start loose and then add in the lines that you want in a more darker approach. Okay, so now that I have these, if I want them to look like they're stacked on each other, I need to start at the top and fill in that bottom part. And then I go down here to the next one, fill in that bottom part. I'm not gonna do the bottom part on this one because that's the top of my ice cream, or that's the top of the, yeah, that's the top of the ice cream cone itself. And so that will have like the melting, oozing ice cream coming off of it. Our next step is to turn these circles into cats. So we have the basic cat shape that we're gonna start with, which is a circle. I want you to first draw a circle very loosely, and then you're gonna draw a plus sign right in the middle, top to bottom, left to right. And then once you have that, I want you to make a V that will connect from outside of the circle down to the very bottom middle of your circle, and then back up. And this will help us map out where the ears are gonna go. So to read this and how it will look like a cat, first, this middle point right here is going to be where the nose is, okay? And then if you look at the plus that we have in the middle, these top boxes in the lower corners towards the middle are going to be where the eyes go. Then we can also add the little mouth if we wanted. And then to get the head shape, we just draw out kind of where the ears will go, because these will make the ears and they'll just come and meet on the circle that we made. And then from there, it'll be super easy for us to erase what we need and darken up the lines that we want to keep. So I'm going to go through and darken up the lines that I want to keep, and then I will erase the lines that I do not want to keep. I have my first main cat shape. Now I want to try and apply this to my ice cream cone right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that plus, and then the V, plus, and then the V, so from there, I'm going to practice this again. I'm probably going to turn my paper like this since I have more room going up this way. I want you to practice as much as you can until you feel comfortable with what you can apply for whenever we do our big project. And I am going to reference from this sketch that I have made. And so what that means is I'm just really going to copy it. And so here's the important part. I really want you to sketch it out first with a pencil very lightly. And then you can go in and kind of crisp up what you want. You're still going to be super light about it though, because we will go over in Sharpie. But in order for us to not have any ghost lines, like if I used this shape and I had a bunch of lines that I didn't want, like I still had my X and I still had a bunch of really harsh lines that I didn't want, and then I want to go in and erase those, I'm gonna have little ghost lines, and I really want to avoid that. Like I'm gonna still see that plus in the cat's face if I use too much pressure whenever I start to sketch this out. So I want to keep it as light as possible, so that way whenever I go to finish it up and touch it up with a Sharpie, that the Sharpie is all that I can see and I'm not distracted by any ghost lines. So I'm gonna go in and sketch up what I have already created so I can have something to work with. Remember, it's gonna be super light. Okay, so now that I have my design on my paper, I'm going to go in with my Sharpie. You might want a Sharpie and a pen. So since we do have some smaller details, the Sharpie might be a little too wide on some of these pieces, so it would kind of make it look a little messy. So if you have a Sharpie and a pen, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and start filling in and outlining some of these shapes. Now you can go in and color your cats however you would like. Thank you for joining me in today's virtual art camp. I hope you had a wonderful time learning how to draw the really cool letters and the super cute cat stacked ice cream cone. That one was super fun. I love how it turned out too and how they're all looking in certain areas. I'm excited to see what you come up with and maybe what kind of cats you add or where they're looking, or if maybe you did a different version of the eyes. I cannot wait to see what you come up with. Be sure to try and post your artwork onto the Hutchinson Art Center's Facebook page. And don't forget to enter our contest. I'm super excited to see what you guys come up with. This is super fun and I'm so glad that I get to do this with you. I look forward to seeing you for the rest of the week. Have fun, make some art, and I will see you tomorrow.